Hey there, welcome. Thanks for joining. My name is Shireen, and today we're going to get you started in Adobe Illustrator. This is a beginner level video tutorial, and it's really just about sort of helping familiarize you with the Adobe Illustrator workspace, the tools, the panels, so we're not going to be creating artwork just yet, but really, again, it's more about introducing you to the tools, so to the workspace. So welcome to Illustrator. As you see here, I've already got us started with a new document, but I can go ahead and close that out. And yeah, we can get back to, so here we are going to get started as Adobe so eloquently states, we're going to get started. And so we could either sort of click this enticing button right here in the middle of the screen, or we could also go up to our pull-down menu, File New, or Command N, and that would be Control N if you're on a PC. So if we do Create New, click on that. All right, and the choice I'm going to do here is I'm going to say Print. And the reason being that because, again, if we're thinking sort of traditional media, we're thinking about sort of paper, that page of paper, and we see these sizes, letter, legal, tabloid, they seem familiar. As an educator for more than 20 years, one of the things that I try to do is really demystify the program and really bring down that anxiety of the mystery of the unknown and remind you that this is hopefully supposed to be an intuitive experience, a familiar experience. So we're going to choose the size of our paper, quote unquote, which we'll be calling in Illustrator our artboard. And the only thing I would just say here is to change it from points to inches, which is obviously more familiar again, or centimeters if you're not in the US. And so here we have it, right? So this is our artboard. This is called our artboard, but it sort of seems like, you know, again, that blank page, that blank canvas, and all the area around that you're seeing that's gray, you can consider that your desktop. So again, if you think whatever you're drawing on the page, whatever artwork makes its way onto the page, that's what's going to make it to print. Whatever you have, though, maybe that might not be quite finished or might be multiple versions, you're not quite sure yet, not ready to commit. Anything that's still not quite ready to print, but you still want to keep that information as part of the document when it saves, that can kind of be off the artboard. And again, you're not going to lose it, but it's not going to print. So it's a way to really encourage you, go ahead, make those mistakes, you know, and really kind of just, know that you can always, sort of make those choices at any time. So let's get started. We're going to start with thinking about our toolbar. You can choose again to kind of really customize it, make this your own personal experience. We can look at it as sort of this long, skinny toolbar here. Illustrator kind of did that a few versions ago to kind of keep it as much out of the way and unobtrusive as possible so that you can have more space to create maximum beautiful artwork. But you can also choose to look at it by clicking on these double arrows in the traditional way where you kind of see more at once in that upper left. And so the way that they've grouped it for us is thinking about selecting whole objects or part of objects, selecting artwork. Again, what does it mean select? That means to really specify and isolate particular elements of the artwork that you want to edit or work on. So selecting, direct select means you're selecting just parts of the artwork. The magic wand, you're selecting certain attributes. Lasso, you're selecting again different parts, just isolated parts of the artwork. After the selection area is the time to sort of now create. So working with our pen tool, the famous pen tool, that's how we start to really create our paths. And we've got next to it curvature, type for when we're obviously, again, we're creating artwork. Part of that artwork oftentimes is the type, line, shape, and brush. Okay, so let's just go back now for a second. Something that you might notice is that next to each of these tools, there's a little triangle. And so just now when we saw those double arrows, or they're also kind of triangular shape, what I want to mention here is that for the Adobe Creative Suite in general, across all the platforms, whenever you see this arrow or a triangle, it's an alert. It's like saying, aha, look under here. So if we look under here, that pen tool is one of the many tools that has a triangle. Click and hold, and what we're going to find is that there's related tools to that family of tools related to the pen tool. So when we're creating anchor points, again, we're just getting used to the vocabulary. We're not going to create artwork yet. Stick with me though and subscribe to my channel. We're going to get there. And so the pen tool, we would add anchors or delete, or the anchor point tool for converting. So I'm clicking and holding. I haven't released. If you follow over here to that second, follow the arrows, follow the triangles. When you click there, click and release. And now you've got what we call a tear off palette. So you kind of can now start to organize and get your workspace set up. So moving on, after we start to draw and create shapes, create text, we start to, again, the shaper is connected with pencil and smoothing. So again, these are all aspects of drawing, erasing. Now it's time to start transforming artwork. So to rotate and reflect, scale, shear, or reshape. Shear, you can think of it as sort of skew, S-K-E-W. And then also the width tool. So in Illustrator, you can create variable width strokes. So the stroke or the outside of an object, so the line around an object, we can make beautiful fluid lines. Puppet Warp. Puppet Warp is a very new addition to the Illustrator family, but it's tons of fun. So we're going to get to see that again in another video. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel. When I'm thinking again of tear off palettes, I just want to do another tear off to show you again, if you're kind of following along, trying to familiarize yourself or taking notes. The shape tool is another one where I would say pull off that tear off panel. It's worth a look. Under the rectangle, you'll see rounded rectangle, ellipse, polygon, and star. And even though I'm not drawing stars, but even just for a basic triangle, you can use that star tool. Flare, that's for like advanced level fun. We can get to that eventually. So we're moving on. Shape Builder and Live Paint and Live Paint Selection have to do with sort of different effects that allow Illustrator, instead of thinking about itself in terms of the points or the stroke, it's thinking in terms of breaking it up by color, by shape. And so it's a really fun sort of way of working within Illustrator. I think it also makes it a more intuitive experience. The perspective grid. The only thing I'll say on the perspective grid, I come from a background of fashion design and textile design. And so it's never sort of happened intentionally that I'll find a student who will be very eager to be working with the perspective grid. What I get instead is people who have opened it by mistake, unfortunately. And so I just want to remind you, no need to panic. If you've clicked on the perspective grid and you don't happen to be an architect or interior designer or working on product design, or you don't feel that you need that functionality, you can just go over here to this icon and just say hide grid. There's going to be a little X, and when you click that, you can get back to your workspace and keep going. The mesh tool, blend tool, mesh tool, gradient tool, and blend tool also too have to do sort of, again, starting to really model your artwork, creating 3D, three-dimensionality and depth. The eyedropper for sampling different attributes or aspects of your artwork. The symbol sprayer tool sort of has to do with the effects of creating symbols, creating instances of your artwork, helps keep your file size down and gives you a lot of creative freedom. Your graphs, of course, for if you're creating graphs or infographics. Artboard for managing, again, quote unquote, if we're following the metaphor, following the metaphor, it's if you're managing the different pieces of paper that you're drawing on or creating artwork on, or managing your artboard. So that's another tutorial if you stick with me. The slice tool for web design and kind of breaking artwork up so that it can be uploaded for web. Hand, also called grabber hand. You just pick up and grab our page and move it around. Or our zoom tool. We can click once to zoom in, or hold Option on a Mac, Alt on a PC, and click out. Last but not least, our fill and stroke help us to fill the inside of an object and help us to color the line around an object. And so when we look over here now, you figure, okay, well, we've got our tools, we've got our blank canvas. What are these panels about? So again, if we're kind of thinking traditional metaphors, if we've got a paintbrush and a canvas, it's not going to do us any good unless we've got our colors. All right, so our panels kind of round out the formula of all of the aspects, all the elements that we need to create beautiful artwork. If we're working on, again, sort of this artboard, but we need multiple layers, or you can, again, traditional metaphor, you can think of it sort of as tracing paper, right? We used to put tracing paper upon tracing paper so that we're not working solely on the original background. You've got your layers panel here. These panels are these are elements that we're seeing in our window. These won't print, all of these aspects. They're not going to print. They're just in our window. So one thing, maybe if you're taking notes, under window here is where you can find the rest of your panels. So for example, let's say you started already creating a gradient, you've got your gradient tool and you're working, but now it's time to edit that gradient. That panel is going to offer you all that functionality. So the tools are here and the panels are here to support that artwork. Last but not least, our pull-down menu. Again, these are related tasks grouped by whatever particular task at hand. So working with a file, file new, file close, edit, copying and pasting, etc. The object, think about the relationships of the different objects on your page, grouping them, expanding them, working with type, working with selections, again, isolating aspects of the artwork. Effects, which are very, very fun, more for advanced videos on sort of creating artwork. View, what is it that I'm going to view? It's not going to print, but it's only going to view. So we can say, for example, a good idea would be to do view, ruler, show ruler. So that's something that we would view it. It would give us some context as far as, what is it that we're, how big is this page and where sort of am I? But it's not going to print. So that's just under view. All right, and under window, we talked about our panels. And so at this point, you should sort of have like the basics sort of, have written down the notes on some of the names, the ways that you would find your panel, get your ruler started, Command R. And I think all that's left now is start creating artwork. So thanks for joining me. Join me in my next video about creating artwork in Illustrator. All right, thanks. Take care.